Now we'll hear from Dr. Shelley McDermott as she talks to us about the lightning session format.
Hello, I'm happy to participate in this effort by NCFR to assist presenters in preparing their presentations for the conference. I've decided to reverse my mission, and instead of talking about how to give a great lightning presentation, I'm going to give you all the tips you need to give a terrible presentation. First of all, with a lightning presentation, if you want to give a bad one, it's very important that you not plan. Don't give any thought at all to how few slides you have and the important mission that each one must serve in your presentation. Often presenters spend far too much time on the material prior to the results, and then they have to rush through the results and the discussion. If you do this, you'll fit right in. Don't think at all about what the most important parts of your presentation are, what your most key points are. Just trust your ability to make it up as you go along, and you'll be sure to give a terrible presentation. And cram as much in as you possibly can, so people can't possibly remember what the key points are or figure out what they are. You should completely ignore the idea that less is more. If you want to give a terrible presentation, it's also really important that you make it really hard for your audience. You can make every slide appear as different as possible so that every slide is completely new information for listeners, so they can struggle to absorb everything that's on the slide while they're listening to you talk in the 45 seconds that they have to look at the slide. For example, it would be a really bad idea, if you want to give a terrible presentation, to have each slide build visually from its predecessors, so that the only new thing that comes onto the slide is the part that you want them to pay attention to. And don't think at all about the fact that what people can see and what they can hear at the same time are different, or that they can reinforce each other, that you can use images on the slide to reinforce what it is you're trying to say. Having people read along with you is a great idea for a terrible presentation, because when your time is really short, you're giving up a source of information that you can use to really help listeners. So don't at all try to make everything work together to reinforce the clarity of your message. If you do that, then you'll be sure to give a terrible presentation. Don't practice. That would be an awful thing to do if you're trying to give a terrible presentation. The time goes very fast, and when the slides are auto-forwarding, it's easy to end up in a situation where you're done speaking and the slide hasn't yet advanced, or the slide advances and you haven't yet finished what you want to say. So if you're trying to give a terrible presentation, it's good not to practice, and so when that happens, you can look a little unnerved and panicked, and that will really be consistent with giving a terrible presentation. Another thing you can do is act surprised by the time limit. Presenters often do this. Even though they knew exactly how much time they had, they often act surprised. And that helps their listeners feel really anxious and makes it hard for them to listen calmly to what you have to say. So that really helps when you're trying to give a terrible presentation. Seriously, I was initially really skeptical about the value of lightning presentations, but I'm now a convert and I use them in my classes. I think they're the best possible training for doing excellent presentations in the future. The auto-forwarding of the slides is a fabulous teacher and teaches you to budget your message and plan the way you're going to deliver your message. I want to say thanks to my student colleagues, Kanona Southwell and Christina Marini, for sharing their suggestions based on their experience. Kanona says that the lightning presentations changed her way of thinking about presentations. They made her understand that she can share a lot of information without giving a lengthy speech. And by all means, don't use these slides as a model. They're excellent examples of what not to do for a lightning presentation. Thanks very much for your attention, and best wishes for a great conference.